before Christmas. She could have called it Christmas Eve, but that's the title. Please welcome Nancy Novak.
It was the night before Christmas, and nobody could have prepared me for what would happen that night, the profound effect that it would have upon me. Little did I expect that before the night was over, I would find myself in a room alone with a dead man. The night began quiet, but it didn't end up that way. I was a second-year nursing student, barely 19. Young, naive, not many life experiences. Tonight would be my first night working as a student nurse, my first tour of duty on nights. I was sent to the medical surgical floor. It wasn't very busy because they had sent most of the patients home for Christmas. I was reassigned to the ER, the emergency room. I had never worked nights. I had never worked in an ER. I observed the nurses and doctors intently and followed their direction. We had a steady flow of patients. An elderly woman who couldn't catch her breath, a 3-year-old child with a high fever and pneumonia, and a man who almost cut off his finger. As the night wore on, I began to think about Christmas Day. Soon my father would drive down from Berkeley Hills and drive me home to spend Christmas with my 6 brothers and sisters and my parents. I could see the Christmas tree with the multicolored lights and the tinsel and the train going round and round under it. I could begin, even in my mind, to smell the food baking in the oven. It was about 4:30 a.m. and a call came in that we were getting a DOA. DOA? What is that? I turned to the nurse and I said, what is a DOA? She matter-of-factly said, dead on arrival. Wow, dead on arrival. I have never seen a dead person before. What would this be like? When the ambulance arrived, I helped transfer an elderly black man onto our ER bed. He appeared to be about 70, and even today I can remember every detail about him. I scrutinized him from head to foot, watching for his chest to rise and fall, but that never happened. His round face was framed with kinky, curly, gray hair. His brown, bloodshot eyes were large and had a fixed stare. His thick lips were slightly parted, and I remember the dry saliva at the corner. His plaid shirt was open. I could see the curly gray hair. And it was open at the bottom and his rotund belly. All these thoughts were whirling around in my mind. Who was this man? Why was he alone? Why did he have to die on Christmas morning? In came the doctor from the ER, checked his pupils, listened to his chest, pronounced him dead, and out he walked. I started to follow, but there was something that compelled me to stay in the room. Everyone else had gone, and I had these thoughts, what's the staff going to think? But that compelling feeling just kept me in the room. I watched, I observed. My thoughts were, what if he starts breathing again? What if he isn't really dead? I stood in the corner as I watched him, and I got courage to inch toward him. My belief is nobody should die alone. I reached out to touch his hand and hold it in mine, and his whole body jerked. I hurried out of the room. I said to the nurse, he moved. She said, it was just a reflex. I went back in, and I stayed there until the orderly came and took him to the morgue. I watched them as they disappeared down the corridor. A few hours later, I was waiting by the curb for my father to pick me up. It was a blustery winter day. The wind was whipping and whirling around me. My dad came. I climbed into the car, thoughts still going around in my head. I pressed my head against the frosty window. I would have liked to have told my father about my first experience in the ER and with a dead person, but we didn't talk about those things in our family. So I leaned over and I gave my dad a hug. Merry Christmas, Daddy. Merry Christmas.